Hey guys, my name is Mark, and in this session we're going to walk through how to generate a license for an Aerez managed router deployment. So what we're looking at right here is the dashboard, and you'll notice at the upper left hand side of the screen we've got a licenses button that you can click on in the menu. And so you click on licenses, and that'll bring up a heads up overview of your licenses, how many there are, how many are deployed, which ones are online and offline, and you can click those buttons to see a more in-depth view there. But today we're just going to generate a license. So there's a blue button in the middle of the screen called Generate License. You just click on that, and now we have to tell the deployment what kind of managed router this is going to be. And so the first button is for New Router. If you haven't worked with our labs yet, you won't have a field deployed router, but that's a secondary option if you have some routers already in the field. Next up is WAN port, and typically you're going to select Ether 1. If you want to use Ether 5 or on a RB 2011, Ether 10 has power over Ethernet out. So if we pick Ether 5, for example, you see another menu item pops out here. We can turn PoE on, forced on, auto, or off. And so those options are available on Ether 5 and Ether 10. However, if we just pick Ether 1, that option's not available. And you'll see we have SFP1 available if you're using a fiber unit. So next step is WAN service. So typically, most often, depends on what your partner deployment is, but we find most often it's DHCP. But if you're using PPPoE or static, you would select that here. And again, if you select PPPoE, we're going to randomly generate some credentials for you that you can put into your access concentrator. Otherwise, you can overwrite those values and put in what you would like for this managed router. And if you need to do a static IP, you'll select that there, and you'll have to put in the static IP with CIDR notation. If it's just a standard /24, meaning there's 250 hosts on the network, you're going to do a /24 there. And then the gateway, we also need to know. And then finally, there's VLANs at the bottom. So you can do untagged traffic, meaning no VLANs. You can do a single VLAN, or you can do what's called Q and Q double tagged. And those options there, if you click on them, will ask you, hey, what are our tag numbers? So once you've selected what type of license you're going to apply, you click Generate License. And depending on your server, this may take anywhere from a couple seconds to 5-10 seconds tops. And you'll be dropped at the license details page. And so here we can update some settings before we deploy the managed router. You can always update these later also. Just depends on whether you want to do it before it goes in the field or not. So you can see we can update the system name, some bandwidth settings, SSIDs, etc. So what we're going to do from here to deploy this managed router is click on the green download button at the top, and that's going to bring up some stuff we need to copy and paste here. And you'll notice that the instructions are slightly different for a WAN port of Ether 1 versus a WAN port of one of the PoE settings. And so there'll be 2 extra steps on a router that's using the PoE port, and that'll just be to factory default the router with no default settings. And it says right there in the instructions, if you follow the instructions, it should be pretty easy to deploy. So you'll see here, we'll pull a router out of the box, or get one that has been reset with the default configuration. Log into Winbox using admin and no password in the terminal window. And then highlight the information here in the text box, right click and copy paste. It's important that you don't use a Control-C and Control-V from Winbox, because Control-C and Control-V in the terminal window are special commands that are going to turn on and off safe mode and insert mode. So we don't want to use those. Better off doing a right-click copy, right-click paste. And then once you've pasted that into the terminal window, as soon as that managed router is connected to the internet, you'll notice that the router status at the top in bold currently says offline. As soon as that gets set on the managed router and it's connected to the internet, it's going to check in with the provisioning server and find out, hey, do I need to do a firmware update? If it does, it'll download a firmware update. It takes about 2 minutes. And then it's going to connect and say, hey, do I need to do first-time setup provisioning? Or what does it need to do? And you'll see there that status will update, and go through first time setup, updating the Wi-Fi, updating all these different settings. When it's done, you'll get a green light and it says ready for customer. At that point, the managed router is ready for a customer to register, and it'll show up in the admin dashboard under licenses with a green light. Thanks guys, and see you next time.